Yeah, the title is a lie. I actually think this rule is a good thing. Like a month or two ago, there was recently a rule established in Texas where I live where you're not allowed to bring your phone into public school anymore. It's a new rule that Governor Greg Abbott established that you can't bring your phone into a public school or like any school. It's not allowed. Period. So many people are irrationally getting so annoyed at this and angry at this. People are genuinely just freaking out about the fact that we can't have phones in school anymore. And by the way, I grew up in a charter school for most of my life, and at the charter school we weren't allowed to have our phones, period. And now this is a thing that's statewide. No one can have their phones at all, and people are freaking out. Why should we have our phones in school? There's like some things where it's like, oh yeah, well, there's school shootings that are going on in public school, but no, it's the phones that are the problem and all that. And it's like, you're focusing on a completely different thing. That's a red herring or whatever you call that. Just focusing on another thing to say that another thing is also bad or whatever. Putting phones out of school is a good thing. I was watching this video about the angry Asian who goes to high school and is going to be a senior like me in Texas in a public school. Now I'm homeschooled right now. I've gone to charter school, I've gone to private school, never been to public school. I understand my experience might be a bit different, but this guy was saying the people who don't want to pay attention in class to the teacher because they'll usually be on their phone will find other ways to not be paying attention to the teacher. And I agree with that, but that's just for the people who have been going to school with their phones. In the next few years, we're going to have more and more people going into high school that won't be able to have their phones on them at all. That's going to be the experience. That's going to be the ordinary experience that you won't have your phones on you. For right now, there's going to be people who are still going to be used to having their phones in class that are going to find other ways to be occupying themselves and not paying attention to this teacher. But in the future, you're not going to have that, okay? You're not going to have the kids who are going to be doing that because they will be used to not being able to have their phones on them. So they'll be more likely to pay attention to the teacher. Why should we have our phones with us in class? There's no reason for that. People will say, well, what about if there's like a school shooting and like you need to text your parents, I love you or whatever before like you might die or whatever.
We live in a state where we actually have the most school shootings out of any other state. Our phone would be great so that we could, you know, call or message our loved ones and tell them that we loved them, or even, I don't know, call the police. I know it sounds crazy.
Crazy argument. That is a crazy argument to make. That does not justify having phones in class at all. And by the way, there's another thing where it's like, what if it's an emergency and you need to text your parents or whatever and like you need to get to them straight away? I don't know if you know this, but schools have phones where you can call your parents. Go to the front office, call your parents or whatever it may be. If your grandmother, who is 186-year-old, is in the hospital dying of tuberculosis, you want to go be with her, they'll allow your parents or whatever to pick you up or go or whatever it may be. You don't need your phone to do all of that. You don't need to have your own phone on you. Plus, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call them in the classroom? You're gonna go to the bathroom, call them in the classroom? Bars? It's ridiculous. Just go to the front office and they'll understand. And then this genuinely angers me, okay? This thing that people are like, and I can't even have my phone at lunch. What the heck am I supposed to do at lunchtime?
The worst part about it is that you can't even have your phone out, period. Meaning you can't have your phone out during passing period in the hallway and lunch. Why the am I not allowed to have my phone out at lunch? What am I learning at lunch, bro? How the pan pizza is here?
You troglodytes. You actual troglodyte. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you know this, but there's people that you can talk to. You don't need to be on your phone. This is part of the ways that leads to phone addiction, is because people are used to being on the phones in class. This leads to phone addiction. Talk to people, be present in the moment. Even right now, I have some friends from my church who are always on their phone. I ask them like, hey, can you like get off your phone or whatever? I don't care if I'm lame for that. Hey, can you get off your phone, like be in the moment or whatever? And they're like, no. And I'm not friends with them because they're always on their phone, always not being able to talk to anyone because they're so sucked into their phone. And I don't want to have that experience at school. I didn't have that experience whenever I was at school in charter school because no one there is allowed to have their phones on them. So we'd all actually be talking to each other and spending time with each other. This can lead to social anxiety with phones and not being used to communicating with people. Yeah, it also makes it to where more people are terrible with communication, just being social, because we are social beings. We need to be able to communicate with other people, with other classmates. But with phones, that makes it to where we're drastically not doing that, and to where it drastically makes it to where we're used to being on our phones and having phone addiction and all that stuff. Ridiculous. I don't think any school should be allowed to have their phones on them unless there's some sort sort of an accommodation or whatever that you need. I'm sure there's some reason why you might need to have your phone on you at all times. For the majority of people, for the majority of regular people living in society, we should not be allowed to have our phones on us in class. It leads to social anxiety, bad communication, bad grades. As a Texan, I fully support this statewide ban on phones. I completely agree with it. If you want to make any arguments in the comments as to why it's a stupid idea or whatever, I will be happy to reply to some comments. If you make good points, like I'll accept that. There might be some good points that you make that I might not have thought about. Maybe you can change my mind. I don't know. I think it's a good idea for us to not have our phones on us in school. But I'm homeschooled right now. Maybe I'm biased, but those are my thoughts. Thank you.